The simple form component organizes form inputs into individual rows. It's used as a child of the create or edit page components, and it expects a list of input components as children, as in this product creation form that allows users to enter a new product, reference, price, etc., etc. So it's already functional if they enter, for instance, a new poster of amateur photographer with a thumbnail. When they hit save, it will call the save handler defined by the parent component, in this case create, and it will call data provider.create, and it will refresh the list. So that's why the new entry appears here in the list of elements, a list of products. This layout by default takes the full page width. You may want to limit the max width by using the SX prop. In this case, I will limit to 500 pixels. And now the form is more legible. If you want a more complex layout, maybe you can stack the inputs in the same row. So I will use the stack element from Material UI. Let me import that. And I will define a stack with a direction of row and a gap of 1. And now I can stack inputs in the same row. Something went wrong because I didn't use the right component name, but now you can see that inputs are stacked in the same row. If you want a more complex form layout, well, maybe you can use an alternative components like tabbed form, accordion form, wizard form, long form, or you can even build your own using the headless form component. Now, you may want to define default values for the creation form. You can do that using the default values prop. For instance, I'm going to say that new posters have a default price of 10, and now users won't have to type if it's the default value, and they can change it before they save it. It would be a good idea to introduce validation to this simple form component. Each form input accepts a validate prop, but you can also define global validation for the form. For instance, if you want to validate one value with regard to another one, and the form validate prop is a function that takes the form values as input and must return an object of errors, and by default it will return an empty object. But now we can add conditions. So if, for instance, values.height is less than values width, we can return an error saying that the height should be greater. Let's see if it works. Now I'm going to create a large width and a small height, and the error is working. Another level of validation, of global validation, is to use a schema. For instance, I have defined a schema for the products here saying the reference should be a string of minimum 5 characters, etc., etc. And I have exported this as a resolver, and I can use it in the product creation form as a schema validator using the resolver prop, and I will use resolver from product schema. And now if I say that, I will see a list of errors that come from the schema, and for instance this error will only appear if the input is empty, and I will have another error until I have at least 5 characters, etc., etc. One problem I can see here is that the input label doesn't show that the reference is required, and I have to add the required prop here to modify the label and show an asterisk so that users will know they have to enter it. Another useful prop, and mostly for edit views, is warn when unsafe changes, because it happens that users modify values in a form, and then they leave the page and they just lose their work. Warn when unsafe changes will warn the users they have unsafe changes. So let's see how it works. I just set the warn when unsafe changes prop on the simple form, and now when users change the value and leave the page, they see a warning that they can cancel, and then they have time to save their work and it won't be lost. And finally, simple form allows you to nest subforms. For instance, if you want to edit related records in the same form, you can do that using specialized inputs like reference one input, reference many input, reference many to many input. That's it for today. Simple form, use it within edit and create views. Use text inputs as children. Check the props that simple form accepts. There are many of them. And until next time, happy coding.